is now passed in the Senate, but we are already hearing from some Republicans in the House who say they cannot get on board with the changes that were made to the bill in the Senate. What is your message to those holdouts?
Well, I just heard that about the Senate, and the bill just passed, and it tells you there's something for everyone. I mean, it's a great bill. There is something for everyone, and I think it's going to go very nicely in the House. Actually, I think it will be easier in the House than it was in the Senate.
And just to be clear, on the Medicaid cuts, you've promised not to cut Medicaid, said this is all just targeting waste, fraud, and abuse. Are you saying that the estimated 11.8 million people who could lose their health coverage, that is all waste, fraud, and abuse?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's going to be a very much smaller number than that, and that number will be waste, fraud, and abuse. And if you look, they took a much more liberal stance on the Medicaid situation than they could have. They had a tough stance and a weak stance. They took not a very strong stance on that to start off, and it's waste, fraud, and abuse, and everybody wants that covered.
What number is that? What analysis are you seeing?
I'm not seeing a number, but I know it's much less than the number you gave. And we really were very, very cognizant of three things. Social Security, we're going to take care of it beautifully. Medicare and Medicaid. And we are going to save it, whereas the Democrats are going to. You won't have it. They will destroy Medicare and Medicaid, and they have to because their numbers don't work. So it's not going to happen. They're the ones that have destroyed Medicare. They have made it so bad already, they're going to make it a lot worse. But now we'll be in charge, so we're going to have no problem with Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. Thank you.
I think this bill does a lot of good things. 5 things come to mind. The border is the most aggressive border security package in the history of the country. $175 billion to make sure it stays secure, hiring more ICE agents, finishing the wall. The detention bed space increased of 100,000. The man who killed Laken Riley was released from custody because there's no place to detain him, no bed space. I think we fixed that. The tax cuts were going to expire in December. There had been a $4 trillion tax increase. That's a big deal. We achieved cost-cutting savings, the largest in the history of the country. Some people say not enough, I understand, but it's the largest in the history of the country. $150 billion to the military in a time of great peril was very much needed, and we raised the debt ceiling. So that's what I'm going to talk about when I go home.
Can I ask you, Senator Lisa Murkowski was obviously a much-watched vote. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys got her to yes on this?
She is wicked smart. So Lisa liked the military. She's very pro-military. The $150 billion was big for her. Lisa's got a pretty big military footprint. She understood this was historic border security. She didn't want the tax cuts to expire. The problem was around the cost cutting, or cost savings to Medicaid, how it affected her state. And she very, very smart. And as a result of these negotiations, the rural hospital fund doubled. Because when the FMAP was fixed for Alaska and Hawaii was knocked out under the bird rule, we came up with a fix to basically increase the rural hospital account, doubled it, and that will help all of our states. So, just methodically working through how this bill affects Alaska. But foundationally, she sort of liked it. But, she did a good job for Alaska.
Can you talk about the process? She still wants to go to conference, though.
I don't know what's going to happen in the House. They're going to take it up pretty soon. Do they have the votes to pass exactly what we did? I don't know. I just think we delivered for the president. We gave our House colleagues a better bill than we found. It has $200 billion more in savings. The tax cuts are permanent. So I think it's a better bill from my point of view, but we'll see what they do.
Can you just talk about the process, though? Why drop that amendment at the last minute, even though you'd been working on it? Why drop it at the last minute, and do you think it was fair?
What amendment?
I mean, all these changes were rolled in at the last minute. The amendment dropped right before the vote. Some people didn't even have a chance to see it.
Yeah, it's the wraparound amendment. You take all the things you negotiate.
But people barely had a chance to look at it, sir.
They had plenty of chance to look at it. They're not going to vote for the bill anyway. The people that were going to vote for the bill had a chance to have the bill changed, and you put it all in a big pot. They looked at it. They challenged it with the parliamentarian. The parliamentarian ruled it was in order, and that's just the way the legislative process works. That's what they did with Obamacare. That's what they did with Inflation Reduction Act. Bottom line is, I think this bill over time will prove to be beneficial to the American people. And it will be a centerpiece of the next election, right? If we're right, we should do well. If they're right, maybe not so well. Eventually, our homework will be graded and our work product will be graded by the American people. And we're going to have to go out and tell them what's in it. And, that's going to be our challenge.
Because we know when we cut taxes and we make it where the American people get to actually choose how they're going to spend their money, don't send it up here to this black hole, Washington, D.C., it's invested better, and you have a better return on the dollar.
How do you feel about passing such a historic bill affecting millions so closely?
Well, this is a big deal. This is all about President Trump's agenda to get America back on track. This is what the people voted for. Obviously, it's got the border security component, strengthening our military, extending the tax cuts, which means Americans will keep more of their hard-earned dollars for themselves and for their families. It's about economic growth. Something you don't hear enough about is it's also really important for energy security, what we like to talk about in terms of energy dominance. And also we found savings of about $1.6 trillion. And with economic growth, you're going to get a lot more revenue, lower taxes, but better growth, 3% as the Treasury is predicted versus 1.8%, which CBO is talking about. That's $4 trillion more in revenue, which will also help with reducing the debt and deficit. And if you look at Joint Tax, who makes that prediction, last time they predicted $1.5 trillion in additional revenue due to the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, and that's exactly where we came in. So again, it's all those things that are just priorities for the Trump agenda, and again, it's about making America strong and getting America back on track, and this is what people voted for.
How confident are you that the House will accept this as is?
What's that?
How confident are you that the House will accept this as is?
We've worked really hard. Speaker Johnson was over this weekend, spent 3 hours with us talking about things like SALT and a compromise there and many other things in the bill. So I'm hopeful that this is something, I think we're all very hopeful, that this is something that the House can accept. Now, we'll see. They have that chance. They can always amend it or we can go to conference. But again, there has been a lot of back and forth with the House to get to something, that both the House and Senate can agree on and the President will sign. And hopefully by July 4th,
Senator,
Independence Day.
Forgive my interruption. Some of the deals that were struck to get this bill over the goal line with some of your other colleagues, is that fair to the rest of the conference?
It is, because we were in the Senate on the floor for 27 hours. So we were working on all these amendments. I don't know how many. Did anybody count all the amendments? How many do we have? Probably set a record, certainly in time, 27 hours. All those things, everybody's there on the floor. All this work is being done there. You guys are here, and they all had to be voted on. And some of them voted on multiple times and birded multiple times. So we worked through the process. We did it with the whole body. And so everybody had a chance to have their say and have the debate, and it was unlimited amendments. You saw that,
Senator.
And I think we had to be close to 50 amendments.
It was
I think we set a record.
But Senator,
what was it?
I think it was around 48.
48. So 48 amendments with the whole body working on it. This wasn't done by one committee or anything else. This is the whole body now for 27 hours working on this thing, with the press and everybody a part of it, and that's the democratic process.
Senator,
were you guys up all night too, or no?
How'd you stay awake?
Some Celsius and coffee. So I've got more caffeine probably running through my veins than any human being should have right now. But it's a big win, obviously, and hard fought. And I think again, President Trump was pretty clear about what he wanted his agenda to be, and I think we were able to deliver on that for things that are really popular among for the American people: the no tax on tips, the economic agenda, making sure those tax cuts didn't expire. That's thousands of dollars to hardworking families, and of course the border. I think moving up the funding for the border wall to finish that, and then for the deportations, is something the American people voted for in November, and we're able to deliver on that.
I mean, what do you make of these last-minute changes?
I mean, look, anytime you're doing something like this, you're going to have some bumps in the road, but you got to overcome those. And I think it was the strength of our conference really to kind of come together. And there's some really great things that we did, I think, to strengthen the system on Medicaid. I had the amendment to make sure that we sort of clear the backlog and the wait list of individuals who are seeking services. And so there's a lot of great things in this bill. And
you don't see it as a special carve-out for Senator Murkowski?
No, I think that we're trying to address, in particular, some of those states, and it's not just Alaska that have had some of those challenges, and given them time to address it. So
we knew we would come to this moment. We knew the Senate would amend the House product. I encouraged them to amend it as lightly as possible. They went a little further than many of us would have preferred. But we have the product now. As the president said, it's his bill. It's not a House bill. It's not a Senate bill. It's the American people's bill. And my objective and my responsibility is to get that bill over the line. So we will do everything possible to do that, and we'll work with all of our colleagues. I'm going up to Rules now to visit with our members who are working probably late into the night to do the next stage in this. And the plan is to put it on the floor. We've got a lot of members flying into town. Some went home for the weekend because we didn't know what the Senate schedule would be and what it would yield. They're on the way back. Of course, we have weather delays all around the country, so there's lots of complications, but welcome to Congress. There's always lots of complications.
What about Freedom Caucus members who said, that they're right now
we have members across the conference who have concerns about various provisions of the bills. A lot of people didn't get what they wanted. They didn't think some savings went as far as they should have gone, or that maybe some of the cuts went too far. I mean, it depends upon who you ask. They have different opinions, but that's the beauty of a large deliberative body. Lots of different priorities and opinions and districts represented. We're going to try to answer all those concerns and get this bill delivered on time as we expected and hoped from the very beginning. So a lot of work ahead, but that's the job. So we'll get it done.
This dangerous Republican budget, Donald Trump's one big ugly bill, will hurt everyday Americans and reward their billionaire donors. Republicans are not the party of working class Americans. They are the party of the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Stop lying to the American people. Donald Trump's one big ugly bill rips health care away from more than 17 million Americans. It represents the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Children will be hurt. Families will be hurt. Women will be hurt. Seniors will be hurt. Everyday Americans with disabilities will be hurt. Hospitals will close. Nursing homes will shut down. And community-based health clinics will be unable to provide services. This dangerous and extreme Republican budget will result in Americans losing their lives because of the inability to access health care coverage. It's unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American. Shame on Senate Republicans for passing this disgusting abomination, and shame on House Republicans for continuing to bend the knee to Donald Trump's extreme agenda. This one big ugly bill represents the largest cut to nutritional assistance in American history. Extreme MAGA Republicans are literally ripping food out of the mouths of children, veterans, and seniors, and all of this is being done to provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire donors. Republicans claim to be the party of working class Americans. You are not. You are hurting working class Americans. This bill won't make life more affordable for the American people. It will make life more expensive, including dramatically raising energy costs, which are already too high. At the same period of time, doing nothing. Nada, zilch, zero, to lower the high cost of living in this country. Donald Trump and Republicans claim that they will lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down. In fact, they're going up in America. And this dangerous and extreme Republican budget, Trump's one big ugly bill, the GOP tax scam, this disgusting abomination will set in motion a potential economic death spiral by increasing the nation's debt by more than $3 trillion. And yet these phonies on the Republican side of the aisle claim to be fiscally responsible. Get lost. House Democrats are going to do everything we can over the next few hours, today, tomorrow, for the balance of this week and beyond, to stop this bill from ever becoming law.
We hadn't got a copy of it. Now, Mr. McGovern, I do agree with you on that. The fact that we should have it in hand. I think the founders and the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence would be astounded that we're adding debt to our children and grandchildren who are defenseless. Debt is a curse. And Jody, you were right. We got to reverse the curse. And what the Senate did is unconscionable. What they did to our bill was unconscionable. And that's why, I will be, unlike my Democrat colleagues, they will not support anything their new leader in New York, Mandani, government-run stores, government-run gas stations, government-run apartments. I wonder how many U-Haulers are now leaving New York, and the socialist theory just does not work. So I'm against this because of what the Senate did. I'll vote against it here, and I'll vote against it on the floor until we get it right. And the fact is, the good news, we're going to pass the tax cuts. The tax cuts don't expire until the December of this year. We're going to pass the tax cuts. And I think we're going to go back to the drawing table. It is my hope we'll go back to the drawing table and get very close to what we sent the Senate, because instead of each individual senator getting a goodie bag and sacrificing the health of this country is an abomination to, again, the founders and the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. So I do think that hopefully we'll get to that. We're not there yet. But I think hopefully we will be, and the American people will be better off for it.
The Democratic response is just one word: why? Why would anyone vote for a bill that kicks 17 million Americans off their health care? And in fact, I come from a pretty Trump family, raised by Republicans, and I was just FaceTiming with the family because I'm away from them over the 4th. And somebody who voted for Trump kind of yelled into the FaceTime, family member, vote no. She was putting her thumb down. And it's because her health care is at risk, and she knows it. And so this is a betrayal of people who were promised by the president that he was not going to touch Medicaid. And so the question we're going to ask is, why would anyone vote for this bill? Why would members who are colleagues of mine who have constituents, 60% of them in one district, who are on Medicaid, why would they vote for this bill? So
do you think Democrats are doing enough to message out?
Well, clearly we are, because in every poll, including the Fox News poll, this bill is underwater. It's the most unpopular piece of legislation in modern history, and it's because it takes away health care. It makes kids go hungry. It raises utility bills because we take solar, electric vehicles, and wind off the grid. So no one wants this bill, so why would anyone vote for it?